What's going on, everybody? John Arapoli here with my MMA News, and today's guest will be fighting Danielle Taylor for the vacant strawweight title at Invicta FC 44. That fight date is August 27th. So let's welcome in today's guest, Emily Ducote. Emily, how are you? And thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be here today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem at all. Now let's get right into everything. We'll start talking first with this upcoming fight, and we'll begin with training camp. I know you're starting to wind things down here. A few days left of camp before you take the ride out there to Kansas for this fight. So just how is camp going as you start to wind things down here?
I'm good. I had a really long camp. I was supposed to fight in May, so I kind of did a few training trips for that date. So I just continued on, and now I'm almost a week out, so everything is going well.
And now tell us about Danielle as an opponent and what it's going to take to get a win on fight night.
I think she's a experienced person like me. Obviously, she's been in the UFC. So otherwise, I think she's more of a striker, explosive striker. So, but I wouldn't count anything out as far as it hitting wrestling or grappling. But I do think she's more of a striker. She's experienced, and I think it's going to hit everything. I think she's coming in and is going to be explosive like normal, and I'm ready for that.
And now one of the unique things too with this fight is the fact that it's being held in the state of Kansas. I know Invicta's been having all of their fights out of Kansas, it seems like as of late, but the unique thing that Kansas does, in case anybody's not familiar with it, they have open scoring, so that kind of makes the fight interesting as it goes on, because not only do the fans know, but so do the fighters inside the cage that night. They know who won the round at the end of each round. So just your thoughts on that open scoring. I know you did it once before, so just tell everybody your thoughts on this open scoring that's going to be taking place.
Yeah, my last fight last July, I had the open scoring, and for me, it doesn't make a big difference during the fight. I'm not thinking about the scoring, but for my corner, he was able to know who won what round, and kind of let me know in like a not so strict way, just slid it in there to say, hey, you won that round, you lost that round. But it's more for the corner. I feel like for me, I don't really want to know. I just want to know what techniques I should and shouldn't be doing. And that's mostly what I look to my corner for.
And now, as a fan of the sport, and I'm sure everyone else is going to be able to relate to this, and Emily, I'm sure you as well, Miesha Tate, big star, a legend in the sport, especially in women's mixed martial arts. I'm really looking forward to seeing her commentate this fight. Invicta just recently announced that they're bringing in Miesha to do commentary for this fight. So just your thoughts on having Miesha commentating one of your fights.
Yeah, it's exciting for sure. I'm a big fan of women's martial arts. So, whenever you get a veteran like Miesha commentating fights, she obviously knows what she's doing. So I like to have, knowledgeable people watching and commentating. So I'm excited for that, and definitely, to see her and see how everything plays out.
And now, before you were talking about experience, and I do want to now touch on that more, because I still remember when you fought Aleem McFarland for the Bellator flyweight title. That was the inaugural flyweight championship fight. It was in Penn State at the Bryce Jordan Center. That was actually the first ever professional MMA event that I have ever covered, so I will always remember that event. But anyway, where I'm going with this, I know you didn't get the win that night, but that was a very close competitive fight. And then you also fought for the Invicta title once before, and that one, again, another close, even closer than the Aleem McFarland fights. You had two very, very close title fights. I can only imagine being in your shoes right now after coming up short twice in two close opportunities like that. Just how important is it for you just to finally get a win in a championship fight and finally break through and claim a title of your own here, after having two very close calls in a championship fight?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this opportunity. I know not a lot of people get 3 title fight opportunities, so it is very important to me. And I just love the experience that I had from those 2 title fights. I think that it was big for me. 125 was just too big, but I would never say no to fighting for that title and in the first Bellator title. So that was a big deal. And when I got to move back down to my weight class in 115 and got to fight for it, the Invicta belt, that was a much better experience for me. And I just felt really, really good in that fight. And it was a really close fight, that could have gone either way. So me now getting to fight for the Invicta 115 belt again is just huge. I'm really excited, really motivated, and just can't wait to finally accomplish this goal.
And it seems like these close fights are just like almost a narrative of your career here. You had so many narrow, close fights, a few split decisions in there, and we know how this works, right? If just 1, 2, 3 of those fights go your way, all of a sudden, completely different ball game, right? It's 2 or 3 more in the win column as opposed to the loss column, and we know what that's like with the fans and other promotions too, when they look at your record and they see that there. So I guess what's the mindset like when you have these narrow defeats? Like, do you have to go in there and look for the finish because you know that you don't have a good history of getting the decision on the judges' scorecards like that?
Yeah, I don't complain about it because it is what it is, but I definitely have had some really questionable split decision losses. So it is motivating, but, I'm not going to go in and fight and rush it. So I'm going to go in and do everything I can to get the finish. But, sometimes it just doesn't happen. But I definitely fight for the finish. If the opportunity is there, I'm going to take it and I'm going to jump on it. But, I don't fight thinking about previous fights. So I just am going into this fight, even though it's my 3rd title fight, I'm not hanging on to those losses or hanging on to any split decisions. I'm just going to fight that fight and do my very best.
So you mentioned before one of your answers talking about fighting at strawweight and how much better you feel in that weight class. Is this kind of, I guess, the long-term thing now? 115 to stay? No more like the 125-pound days. They're over with your natural weight class, the strawweight, and you plan on staying there for the time being?
Yeah. So before Bellator, I was fighting at 115, and like I said, I just cannot turn the opportunity down. So when the opportunity to fight for Bellator at 125 came up, there was zero chance I was going to turn that down. So I fought, 8 times at 125, and I'm not going to say I'd never fight at 125 again, but that's definitely not my home. 115 is not a bad cut for me, and it's just what I should naturally be at. So I'm really happy to be back at 115, and that's definitely where I see myself staying for the rest of my career. Like I said, if an opportunity came up, I wouldn't put it out of my mind. But 115 for sure, if I had to choose a weight class, I just feel better, faster, stronger at 115.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring that up is because we've seen time and time again, Invicta's produced so many great fighters in other promotions, and especially the champions. They always move on to a different promotion, usually the UFC. But I know you have a great relationship with Bellator. Is Bellator going to be eliminated from things if you're to win this title because they don't have that strawweight division?
Right. I think that Bellator will eventually have a 115 division. And if that was the case, I would consider that for sure. The reason why I left Bellator is exactly because I needed to fight at 115. So they didn't have it at the time a few years ago. And if they did bring it back, that would be in my mind. But for me, one thing at a time, get this belt. And, eventually my goal is to be in the UFC.
So I do want to end now here on a lighter note. You're known as the Donut Princess. What exactly makes a good donut? 'Cause I know you're a donut connoisseur here, so kind of help everybody out here. When somebody's going to go out and buy donuts, what do they got to look for?
First of all, if you're in Oklahoma, you have to go to Hertz Donuts. They've got the best donuts here. Maple bacon donuts. Hertz has everything, but maple bacon is for sure my favorite, and that's my go-to.
So explain this here, a maple bacon donut. Does this sound exactly like it sounds like there's literally bacon inside of a donut?
It is on top, but it is really good. It's a whole meal. You just get one of those and you're done.
So up here we have Krispy Kreme that's very popular. Everybody goes crazy for the glazed donuts. Where the glazed donuts rank in this equation? Are they one of your favorites as well?
Yeah, glazed are good. Krispy Kreme is like lighter. So you could throw it down with a bunch of Krispy Kremes. Hertz is like a real deal donut. It's got everything on it. It's pretty thick, so you're not going to be able to eat as many of those.
All right, well, I love a good donut. If I'm ever in Oklahoma City, definitely going to check that out. And if people want to check you out on social media, go ahead, tell them where they can find you at. Also, if you have any management sponsors you got to plug, please feel free to do so.
Sure. Most active on Instagram, mducote1. That's where you can keep up with pretty much everything. And that's it.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have here for today. Emily, thank you so much for the time. Again, Emily fights Danielle Taylor for the vacant strawweight title at Invicta FC 44 on August 27th. So make sure you guys check out that fight, and make sure you guys go down on the bottom, click the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And also, keep going to MyMMANews for all the great content that we have that comes out there. And give our social media pages a like and a follow as well. We'll see you later, everybody.